President Trump is escalating his feuds with Democratic-run cities and states over crime and threats of military deployments. Today, Trump suggested he may pull federal funding for the reconstruction of the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge over in Baltimore. In a series of Truth Social posts, the president attacked Maryland Governor Wes Moore's record on crime and tied bridge funding to a political dispute on deploying the National Guard to cities across the country. All of this comes as CNN has learned the Trump administration has been planning for weeks to send National Guard troops to Chicago, America's third largest city. It's believed the deployment would look different from what we've seen over in Washington, D.C., where the president has more leeway in directing troops. The Chicago deployment could more resemble what the president did in Los Angeles in response to immigration protests there this summer. But this time, troops are expected to have a broader focus of combating crime and unprecedented use of the National Guard. CNN's Julia Benbrook joins us now. Julia, what more can you tell us about this possible deployment?
Well, Isabel, President Donald Trump has made it clear that he plans to expand these efforts outside of Washington, D.C. This is a part of his anti-crime agenda and his immigration crackdown. In recent weeks here in the nation's capital city, Trump has taken temporary control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police. And then there's also been this constant visible presence of the National Guard here. In the Oval Office on Friday, he made it clear that he plans to expand these efforts, saying that he is taking a look at Chicago now. Take a listen.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one, but they're wearing red hats.
Now, officials who have spoken with CNN say that the plans to send troops there have been in the works for weeks, but there are still a lot of questions. How many troops will be sent and when that deployment might happen? Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has said that the administration has not been in direct contact with his team or the governor. He's accused the president of, quote, stoking fear, and says this is not the way to bring down crime in his city.
What he is proposing at this point would be the most flagrant violation of our Constitution in the 21st century. The city of Chicago does not need a military occupation. That's not what we need. In fact, we've been very clear about what we need. We need to invest in people to ensure that we can build safe and affordable communities.
In a statement, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said this. He said, quote, "The safety of the people of Illinois is always my top priority. There is no emergency that warrants the President of the United States federalizing the Illinois National Guard, deploying the National Guard from other states, or sending active duty military within our own borders." While it is not uncommon for federal authorities like the National Guard to help out across the country in times of emergency, like natural disasters or civil unrest, experts say that sending in the National Guard in a blanket order to combat crime and implement the president's immigration policies is unprecedented. So we've seen this start here in Washington. He says that Chicago's next. Then he says he's taking a look at New York. In recent weeks, he has also criticized other major cities, calling them, quote, very bad, including Los Angeles and Baltimore.
Julia Benbrook, thank you so much. And joining me now to talk more about this possible National Guard deployment to Chicago is Kwame Raoul. He is the Attorney General for the state of Illinois. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to start with Trump saying that Chicago is next. He's saying that this is because of crime. He's saying Chicago is a mess, but the crime data is really painting a different picture here. Chicago police reported last month that homicides are down 32% year over year. Shooting incidents are down 37%. Motor vehicles and carjackings also considerably down. And we're looking at a graphic of that right now for our audience. So in light of all of this, why do you think he's going after Chicago?
Thank you for having me. I think it's performative. I think that data that you just related is a result of us having great law enforcement leaders in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. We have a tremendous police superintendent here. And one of the things that we embrace, my office and other law enforcement agencies throughout the state, is a one-team concept, which includes partnership with federal law enforcement agencies who are trained to deal with crime, which the National Guard is not. That includes the FBI, the ATF, DEA, even in some instances, Homeland Security investigations and Secret Service. We've had tremendous partnerships with federal law enforcement during the Trump administration and during the Biden administration. And so we're not opposed to that ongoing partnership with those who are trained to deal with crime.
Yeah, and to be clear, he's not asking for permission. He hasn't spoken to any of the city or state leadership there. What does that say to the American public when this is happening in cities and states? And he claims will continue to expand.
Well, the fact that he's not embracing the collaboration that you usually do to deploy the National Guard, communicating to the governor, means that it's another step towards authoritarianism, that he's operating as a dictator, turning the military against the American citizens in cities on American land is unprecedented, and it's unheard of.
The Democratic governor of Illinois issued a statement yesterday calling Trump's plan to deploy troops there, quote, an abuse of power, and said Illinois, as you have mentioned, never asked for this. He has not heard from the federal government. And then he said this: Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis, politicize Americans who serve in uniform, and continue abusing his power to distract from the pain he is causing working families. To you, sir, I ask this: if the White House moves forward without the approval from the state, what legal actions would your office take?
Yeah, it all depends. It all depends on what specific actions that the National Guard, if they are deployed, are suggested to perform. It's an offense to the sovereignty of states, where we allow for the primary enforcement of public safety to happen at the local and the state levels, for that to be left to the states in collaboration with federal law enforcement. But the Posse Comitatus Act limits the ability for the president to federalize the National Guard. We don't have a foreign invasion. We don't have a rebellion. And so we will use our legal tools to challenge it, as has been done in California, and we're waiting for the results of the litigation in California.
Yeah, and I know you've been a part of several lawsuits against the administration, even recently, for withholding millions of dollars from the state in money that would go toward helping victims of crime, something that I read your statement. You have said is horrible. If he cared about the victims of crime, he wouldn't be withholding that. Of course, he cites crime data, not sure which data that is, and he's citing immigration policies. Kwame Raoul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.